Coming out his podcast, just a man doing the best he can with what he got. And today I got a guest, Mr. Johnny Moore III, a Memphis-born leader with about 15 years of experience in ministry, business development, and education. He's a regional account executive, the founder of Moore Consulting Group, and a former multi-site pastor who led outreach, volunteer development, and church growth initiatives. Johnny also worked in finance, taught business and project management courses at the college level. That's right, guys. College level, and brings a unique blend of spiritual insight and business strategies to everything he does. And also, most importantly, he's a proud father of Johnny the Fourth and devoted uncle to Kylie J. And let me say something, man. Thank you for putting, because when I asked you for your resume, I didn't ask you to put in that you was a father, but the fact you put in you was a father, like, delighted me and tickled me to death, because it's always this stigma that black men don't care about their kids.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And I made sure that I am delighted to be a father. I understand the brunt of responsibility that comes with that. Generationally, it's easy for me to see because he's the fourth. So generationally, from Johnny the first, the second, and I'm the third, and now he's the fourth, I even dedicated my book to him because I pray that one day it's a seed that will be sown into his future. Right now, he's in kindergarten. So I hope by the time he's getting ready to leave high school, that seed would have grown within him so that he can experience better than I could ever imagine in my life.
Great segue, and I'm going to take it because you wrote a book.
Yes, sir.
And the book you wrote is Anchored, Finding Strength in Your Struggles. And
yes.
First, let me just pull back the curtain a little bit and tell the folks a little. We went to school together.
That's right.
At the University of Tennessee at Martin.
Right.
And it was a PWI, predominantly white institution. But that meant that you kind of knew all of the people of color there. Like, you kind of knew it was kind of a more intimate setting. And whereas in college, we didn't really just talk, because, everybody don't talk to each other, right? But I must say, in that like small pool, there was names you always heard, right? And your name was one of those that I always heard, but I never heard anything bad about. Like, I never heard anybody say anything bad about you. Or if I had a problem or I had to like talk to other people in different frats and stuff like that, they always bring up your name. Like, hey man, why don't you go talk to Johnny? So I think it's fitting that you wrote a book for men. So can you kind of explain like what made you write this book?
Let's just pull it off, pull the scab off. I went through a tough time in my life. And to be very, very transparent, I got to a place to where I was dealing with some struggles that I had not identified or I began to suppress. And because of that, everything came to a head. I lost a lot of meaningful relationships. I lost finances, and I lost what I loved. And in the middle of that, I had to find my way through it. I believe, Marcus, with everything in me, every one of us has a place where we will experience hardship or struggle. I think it's inevitable. But the question is, what can I learn from it? And how can I be developed, not on the other side of it, but while I'm in it? Because I believe processes build the muscles of determination. They build muscles of resilience. Also, it helps us identify our areas of opportunity while we're on this journey, just trying to become the best man or woman that we can in this life. So things just began to happen in my life negatively, and I had to find a place. But I found an issue that there weren't a lot of places for men to plug into, that they could be transparent, that they could be vulnerable and say, hey man, I'm dealing with this situation. I'm dealing with this circumstance. I don't know how to get myself out of it. If I'm honest with you, I don't know how in the world I got in it. But all I know is it's now come to a head. I need to find a way out of it. I want to be better. I need help. And I wanted to create a space to where men could be vulnerable and transparent about what they're dealing with, what they're struggling with, and not just identify it, but then apply principles to what they are experiencing negatively to see a different outcome, because we understand the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So if we want to see something different, how can we apply what we know to be positive to see something better happen in our lives? So that's where the book came from.
I'm not a religious person, right? And
yes.
I am not a Christian. But I found this book to be helpful to me. Like, even though I'm not a Christian, reading this book, I'm like, okay, this guy gets it. Because it seems like from day one, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is my interpretation, but it seems like from day one, you are starting at a point where a man is completely broken, like completely at the bottom, right? And then it's like you give him a security blanket. But then day by day, you kind of take it away a little bit, and then you start building a shield for him. Like in day one, you're basically saying, hey, man, you are not your faults. Like, you know, you're not your faults. And then by day 20, you're like, hey, man, now you got to start building your strength up. And then it goes to day 24 where you start talking about how to guard your heart. So that's what I took away from it. Am I right or wrong? Or
man, you're spot on. I think systematically, there needs to be a process that we go through. And I think there are a lot of things that happen chronologically that we need to assess in our lives. First, you got to come out of the past, realize where you are, and then set goals for the future. Sometimes as men, we can never transcend places of fault. And hear me closely, Marcus. I'm not saying that we take away the place of accountability for the wrong or the mistakes that we made, but I don't need to be held hostage. If I can never assess and see myself and say, hey, those are things that I did, that is not who I am. Because we begin to react with ourselves and others based on how we perceive ourselves. And the only thing that we can control in life, I believe, is how we treat ourselves. I can't control how you react to me, what you think about me. I can't even control what you say to me. Now, I demand respect in my reaction to what you say, but I can't control what you say. And I think the perspective is challenged most in men to be able to get past what we have done and see ourselves in a much more positive light. But after that, realizing there is a place of accountability for us to see those areas of opportunities, and let's do the work. Let's put in the work. I believe in therapy and counseling. I'm a Christian, so I believe in Christ and a counselor. I believe that, yes, there's a place for faith, but there's also a place for your works. And I think the place for our works is finding yourself on a couch somewhere so you're not imploding and suppressing all the things that you have experienced in the reality of your life. So, you know, I think it's not either or. I think it's both and.
Man, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this because I got some questions lined up about days. Some of the best days I like. And I wanted to ask you about these. And you kind of took my thunder, man, because you kind of answered the question on somebody else. But it's all right.
My bad.
I'm like, man, answer the question before I answered it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Let me hit you with this question, right? Because day 7, you focused on individuality. And you wrote, God made every man unique. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Yes.
So, like, what inspires you to emphasize authenticity and originality in that point at day 7?
What day 7 is rooted in really is for us to take the focus off of comparison. Marcus, I believe social media has been a gift in regards to an access that we know we didn't have previously. But there's a curse to social media that breeds a level of comparison like we've never seen before, because now we have access to everyone. You know, for me, I've been out of high school 25 years now, right? You used to look forward to going to the class reunion to catch up with people so you can see the pictures.
Yep.
Bro, I don't need that anymore. I know what your children look like. I know where they go to school. I know how many kids you got. I know how long you've been married. I know where you went to college because I have access to everything. Mm-hmm. Now, juxtapose that. I also have access to what you show me through social media. And what I have seen is we have a false narrative of what people are really living like through the lens of what they show us. And many men are putting themselves down, are depressed, are struggling intrinsically, emotionally, financially, and even mentally because they are comparing themselves with what everyone else is showing and not what everyone actually is living. And I think if we're going to start rebuilding our lives, it has to be built on our uniqueness. You know, even identical twins have different thumbprints.
Yep.
It has to be a place of uniqueness in every individual. And I believe our uniqueness is the thing that creates our value. It's not how much money you have, although you're gonna need it. It's not how high your credit score is, although you need to work on your credit. It's not how big your house is. It's not your socioeconomic status. It's not your level of connections that you have, although I believe no man lives on an island. Our foundation of our value in life is found in our uniqueness. And we begin to diminish our uniqueness when we elevate others through comparison. So, what I was trying to get men to see is that we need to stop trying to compare ourselves to everyone else. Because this is really big in us because we're alpha males, right? We're hugely competitive. You know, if your frat is stepping, I want to beat y'all.
Yep.
Hey, we're competitive. If we're on the basketball court, no, you're not gonna make me look like a sucker. And that's good, but I think we got to channel that energy in a way that is positive to where we don't start going to levels belittling ourselves and diminishing the value that God has created through our uniqueness by comparing ourselves to others. And that was the message that I was trying to get to every man is, man, you got to quit comparing yourself to other people. I can't compare myself to you, Marcus. I can't compare myself to you mainly because your journey is different than me.
Different, yes.
And I've seen places, let me be very personal. I've seen places of low self-esteem and even bouts with depression because I've compared myself not only by where I thought I should be, but where I see others and what they portray to be.
Perception,
and really, I'm only seeing smoke and mirrors. Because no one shows the bad days crying on social media. They only show when they get the raise and promotion.
Unless you're Tyrese.
Right. Big facts. Yes. And I think that is a thing that we really need to gauge in our lives, learning how to celebrate others and not compare ourselves to others.
I'm glad you said that because all right, I truly believe out of all the 7 deadly sins, envy is the dumbest one because you don't get nothing out of it. Like, at least out of gluttony, I get some food. Out of lust, man, I get a good time. You know, but envy, I don't get nothing but pain and heartache. And that you're so very right because social media gives us the illusion, but we don't know. That's an avatar. And I keep telling everybody, like, social media ain't real life. You hit the nail on the head that access. I truly believe we shouldn't have that much access to people. Like, you kind of keep things guarded. I love that, man. Like, yeah, I'm in total agreement with that. In day 8, you speak openly about like depression and mental health. And you kind of answered this already, but I'm gonna ask the question because I wrote it out.
My bad.
Given the stigma around mental health in the Black community in particular, right?
Yes.
Like for Black men, it was seen to go to therapy weekly, and I go to therapy myself.
Yes.
But we often lean on the church before counseling, and counseling is the church. What practical steps do you recommend for building like real emotional and mental awareness for Black men in particular? Because our journey is different than that of our white counterparts.
I think there are several different avenues we need to take. I think we need to prioritize our community, the people that you select intentionally to be around you. We need to prioritize mentorship. We also need to prioritize being a mentee. Because so many times, Marcus, we seek out opportunities to mentor, which is good. I'm not discounting that. But again, I don't think it's either or. I think it's both and. Because we also find our opportunity to reemphasize who we are called to be by how we pour into others. we can see a level of that in the people that we surround ourselves with. Because also you gain emotional intelligence by the introspective look that one has, right? But also that perspective of how you see is often sometimes influenced by your circle as well. And I think we got to be very careful in prioritizing the people we surround ourselves with and what we allow to be poured into us. What are we watching? What are we listening to? What are we feeding our bodies that produce ultimately who we are on a daily basis? So I think that emotional intelligence is so, so key. I think we need to debunk the misnomer that seeking help through therapy makes you weak as a man. Speaking to emotional inequities that you experience in life makes you unqualified to be a leader of a household. Just because I can speak to the reality of me being afraid of the market, what's happening in the economy, that doesn't mean I lose my ability to lead a household or lead myself through it. That means I need to be intentional on what I'm doing with my money right now. I need to be intentional about saving. I need to be intentional about investments. I need to be intentional about not living above my means. And we'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah.
To
make sure. I'm like, this man cooked.
to make sure that I'm setting myself up. But a lot of men don't have a safe space to be able to articulate, dude, I'm afraid. Man, I don't know what's going to happen next. Or they don't have an ability or space to be able to communicate, my experience is my reality. And if I grew up without a male figure in my household, I've never experienced the reality of being a leader through this role or through this mindset. So what do I do now? Or if I had a male in the household and he wasn't as engaged or as I needed him to be, what do I then now do with that? Because I think we have two options in any situation. It's either to acquiesce to what we've experienced or to run from what we've experienced. There's an old story that says there's two sons of an alcoholic. One never drinks because his father was an alcoholic. The other son drinks because he said, that's all I've ever seen. My dad was an alcoholic. And we have the choice, Marcus. That's the place of responsibility. We have the choice, but I shudder to think how many men are silently dying inside, emotionally, because they feel they will not be accepted by society, their family, and their friends if they're real about what they're experiencing intrinsically. And this is something that I wanted to make sure that men experience or begin to articulate the caves that they're in. Because now it's been kind of commercialized that I want to build my man cave. I want to build my man cave. I want to challenge what you bring into your man cave. Because sometimes it's things that we bring into a cave to give us comfort, but really not develop us as men. And you don't want to bring toys into the cave. Bishop Jake says toys of our treasures of our youth without really working on becoming the man that we need to be.
Leading to my next question.
Yep.
How do we build happiness? Because I will say this, when I was in Japan, I was an actor, model, taught English, DJ, did a lot of things, but I was broke. When I say broke. Yeah. But I was happy. I tell everybody, like, I was so happy. Those were the best 12 years of my life. Going around, traveling to Japan, man, going on set, doing movies, going around Tokyo, made some great relationships. I had a homie Ian, like just going to his house and barbecuing was just the greatest thing to me, walking through the park. I felt so happy. No money.
Yes.
Like, I got more money now than I did back then. But I was just so happy. How do we bring that into the forefront in men's minds to let you know, like, because you said it, you do need to be mindful of the money you spend, but you are also not the money you make. So how do we balance that? Because it's the whole thing about being a man is, oh, I gotta provide, I gotta get this money, and if I don't get this money, I'm not the man that I'm supposed to be. And you'll see it used too as a weapon sometimes. What, you ain't got no money, you broke? What you gonna do? How do we combat that, or is it something that we need to combat?
I think it is something that we need to combat. I think we need to prioritize finding our focus in fulfillment, finding our focus in things that fulfill us. I had a brief opportunity to take a missions trip to Japan as well. And I believe the city that we were in is Machiba.
Yeah, Chiba. That's why I stayed there. I stayed in Chiba, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So while there, and I'm gonna do both sides. What I experienced was a lot of individuals had money because it was very affluent business model, suits, shirts, ties. You know, it wasn't a real casual experience. However, and you can check my facts on this for sure, the depression rate is much higher, even when you juxtapose it to individuals that were living in Mozambique, Africa, which I visited the next year on a separate missions trip. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? The level of affluence and the level of poverty is diametrically opposed between Japan and Africa, but you see more people being depressed and committing suicide.
Yes.
People renting animals to eat dinner with because they were so lonely.
Yes. That's true.
Marcus, my mind was blown. I'm like, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And it was absolutely inextricably tied to a level of fulfillment and happiness that's not built on something that's temporal. Because there's also an old story of a stockbroker who is a major stockbroker in up in the north. I believe it was Chicago, and the stock market plummeted. When the stock market plummeted, he committed suicide by jumping out of a window, only for the stock market to go back up the next day. Why? Because his self-worth was so predicated on how much money he was making, how the dividends in his financial portfolio, that he made a permanent decision in a temporary situation. And I think when we begin to prioritize things that will fluctuate and go up and down over our fulfillment in life, not based on how much money I make or the accoutrements that I can acquire in life and how many clothes I have or the designer clothes that I can wear. And it's found in tapping into our purpose. Man, I think I have found more happiness when I have done things that I felt gave me purpose or allowed me to operate in my purpose, not gave me a purpose. I think everyone is given a purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, you just existing. That's my personal belief. But when we find our purpose, we find the thing that fulfills us the most. And it's not, I believe, it's not just for us, but it's to help someone else. Because I just believe in that symmetry that we should have with one another. And that's the thing that I think we should prioritize. Find the thing that fulfills you. Find the thing that makes you feel like you are living life on purpose and with purpose.
So day 11, you focus on faith. And faith has been a weird one for me, like as a non-Christian person. I deal with the idea that, faith without works is dead. That's what the Bible says. How do you personally define faith? And like, how do you put that into action in your own life? Like, how do you apply those principles of faith? Because that's what day 11 deals with.
Yeah, day 11 specifically is entitled Faith Over Our Feelings.
Yes.
And I think so many times our level of euphoria or our level of happiness, as you said, or our level of joy can fluctuate based on our feelings. And I think our feelings are something that kind of change like Memphis weather. Where it can be cold in the morning, it be, by the time you get off work, it's like, man, I got to take this jacket off. I think when we live according to our feelings as the driver, not negating feelings. I want this to be clear. I'm not negating our feelings or our emotions. But when we are emotionally driven and emotionally or driven by our feelings only, I think we don't make the best decisions. In my personal life, I have made some decisions based on emotions because I was a prisoner of the moment and I got caught up in the emotion and I made some very, very dumb decisions.
Mm.
I predicated a purchase based on my feeling of the moment, only the next month not even to value that purchase because that purchase wasn't made based on anything that was concrete. It was based on something that's fleeting. So I believe, and even my definition to your question of faith is my belief in my future that could be diametrically opposed to the reality of what I see right now. I don't think that my demise or I should take hold of, this dreadful outlook for my life, but I'm geared and I'm fueled by my faith and not fueled solely by my feelings. So I want men not to be overcome by the reality of what you're seeing or what you're feeling, but just know that if I remain consistent, if I remain resilient and believe and trust that there's a purpose over my life, God has a unique value for my life, then there's something greater to live for, even outside of or greater than I'm experiencing currently. Because I think we give up prematurely when we think there's nothing else to live for. We can give up on family, we can give up on relationship, and maybe that's not the end all be all, but I think sometimes we just give up prematurely because we don't have a proper perspective of our future, and we just think, yeah, this is the best that it'll ever be.
Get
And
no
let's just
better than this. Yeah.
yeah, it's no better than this. And then you start acting like that.
Yes.
You start interacting with people because your perspective, again, of yourself and your self-worth is so low. Then you begin to settle for dead end relationships or dead end interactions because you don't believe anything positive about your future or where you're going or what you can contribute to the community, what you can contribute to the next generation. It's impossible to fuel someone else from an empty tank. And if you have no positive perspective about where you're going and your purpose in life, then how can you positively impact the next generation, which I believe we're called to do?
Bars. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Yes.
What I'm hearing you saying is like the faith is enacting the plan and having laser like focus on your plan. And that's like the best example I've heard anybody of the cloth give me, because I usually kind of get some voodoo answers. Like, well, you just gotta believe, and if you just believe, and I'm like, bro, you're not giving me nothing tangible. But thank you for giving me something tangible, because like that's the main thing. When I ask people like, what does faith mean to you? If you start getting too much into hoodoo hookah, I'm like, you're kind of losing me.
Yes.
I got like 2 more questions, man. I promise you.
Yeah. No
but I'm having a good time, man. I apologize.
Yes, sir.
So day 16, I think it's one of the most powerful days. It hit me.
Yes.
Because I think this is used to make us not fulfill our dreams and our purpose, or not even try anything. And that's shame, right?
That's
16
right.
deals with shame. And
that's right.
I have battled with that a lot in my life, especially like smallest violin in the world. But I'm a disabled vet. I have PTSD, right?
Gotcha.
And that's something that I don't just throw out there because I don't want to boo-hoo. But, it's a lot of things I saw and I've seen, even like growing up in the hood, things I've seen, how I was raised, and thank God I was able to like hash that out with my dad before he passed away. But it's things that just interact with me, and you start to feel ashamed, and that stops you from saying like, man, I don't even want to try. Like, how did you approach writing about like such a vulnerable topic? Because, and what advice would you give men who still carry that shame of past decisions?
Yeah, I think again, I wrote this devotional for men from a very personal place. Marcus, I don't say this from a place of, a badge of honor, but I'm a pastor's son. Okay. So the microscope on a pastor's son, from my experience, is so great.
It is.
The kids across the street could do the same thing, but it was magnified if Lil Johnny did it. Because of who Lil Johnny's daddy was and the office that he held. And, my dad was bivocational, worked at FedEx and did the church. So that's my scope and perspective of church. And I did a lot of things that were embarrassing to my father because of the decisions that I made, because I didn't always make the right decisions and choices. And that created shame for him. So I thought, and that then made me feel shameful. Mm-hmm. And I had to break free from, literally break free from the opinions of others based on the decisions that I made. I had to break free from the judgment that I received from others, because I could not walk into my future still being bound by the chains of shame, because it was causing me to not be in a great place emotionally and even mentally. I was second guessing myself. I was second guessing my ability to be successful in areas of my life, internalizing these negative places, saying that, man, God's not going to be gracious to me. He won't be good to me because I messed up. I was saying that God wouldn't open doors for me and, create opportunities for me because I made these mistakes. And that shame just had me internalizing a lot of different thoughts that wasn't even true from my father. Like when I actually had a conversation, I was casting, and that's again, the reason why I wrote the book. Man, you started internalizing all of this stuff, Marcus, and you're like, man, my dad don't like me. He's embarrassed by me. He's like, who told you that?
Right.
Did I ever say that? Did I ever act like that towards you? It's like, no, but I just thought, because so-and-so was saying this at the church, and, across the street, I heard Mr. So-and-so say, and I thought maybe you're my son. You're not perfect. You know how I know? Because you're my son. I'm not perfect. And if I'm not perfect, I can't expect perfection out of you. So I had all of this shame that was building up. And if I really be honest, I was self-sabotaging a lot of my thought processes because of all the shame that I need to break free from it. And I think I wanted to create a space where men could know, hey, you don't need to allow shame. I wrote, and I quote, don't allow shame to write your story. Let grace do that instead. The grace is just the favor that we receive that we maybe don't rightfully deserve, because, it's not, hey, you commit this crime, then you get this punishment. Because if that's the case, I don't deserve to talk to anybody because I'm so flawed. I'm a flawed human. I make mistakes. I'm still working on a lot of proclivities that I have that I know are detrimental to my health, to my emotional health, my physical health, my mental health. And I'm a work in progress. And I don't say that as a caveat to say, hey, don't judge me. I say that from a real place because I understand that I'm not perfected. I'm not at all. And if I can relieve myself from those places of elongated shame. And when I tell you elongated shame, Marcus, I'm talking about from teenage years. Because my dad literally started a church when I was 13. So the microscope was on us. Everybody talked about it at school. Dad had a church van with the church name on it, and that's what he dropped us off on in school. Dad, why would you do us like that?
Yeah, no.
Like I needed any other reason for somebody to talk about us. Why in the world would you drop us off in that church van? But he had just got off work, and that was more. But it's just those things that I carried even into adulthood, just living in shame. And I thought that men need to know that we need to be intentional about not shaming ourselves, because society is going to do it enough.
You know what? I'm going to end it right there on this segment because I don't want to give away the book, because it's 30 days and it's a devotional. Yes. And I can talk about, like, I got like 8 more questions here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm like, look, I think the man kind of want to sell the book too.
So, please get the book. Get the book.
Get the book, Anchored. Yes. It's on Amazon. I'm actually buying a copy and sending it to my home. He's going through some things right now, and I thought the book was for him. So I'm sending him a copy too. That's how much I love the book. On the back end, let's talk about my financial plan for Black churches.
Lord, I can't change. Won't you
right, we back with Johnny Moore, and I did a podcast about Black churches being a focal point of Black wealth and a way for us to build wealth in the Black community. Now, I will say I was speaking from a level of ignorance because I've never been a pastor. I don't know the internal workings of a church, but I have been members of churches, and I grew up in the church. And I know you heard my podcast and my 5-point plan. Do you think that is a viable plan? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think that it is a viable plan. I think it is more than just the endowment. I think totally, and I know this is kind of a space for debate, but I don't really argue with much of what you said, and this is why. Because a part of my uniqueness, as we talked about in the last segment, is that while I'm called, I feel, to ministry, my background is in finance. I have an MBA. So I wear two hats. I wear a hat of financial integrity. I wear the hat. I've worked in financial spaces, banking, finance, Citigroup, First Tennessee, things of that sort. So
I hear you.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm not just coming from the pastoral perspective. When you talk to me, they kind of merge together for me. So I don't find any place for debate in the plan. I feel like it is a great foundation for what I'm seeing is really intentionality on the part of the Black church. Because I think there is a responsibility for the Black church and the church at large, if I must say, but we're talking about this segment, this demographic, the Black church in the Black community, right? And if we're talking about that, I think there's a place of responsibility for the Black church in the Black community. And again, I speak from experience. I was my dad's successor. Our church was in the heart of South Memphis. Right off Florida and on Mallory, in between Florida and Kansas.
Yeah, that's
so what I tell you. Yeah, 38109.
That's the hood.
My dad, that's the hood. Okay, so I'm not just coming from a mega church experience. I blessed to work in those experiences as well when I moved here to the state of Texas. But my first experience was in a small church, less than 100 people, in the middle of the hood. The corner store, South Memphis Grocery, with the best burgers in Memphis.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Sykes family.
I was just there, actually. I was just there. Literally.
So you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. So that's my experience, Marcus. This ain't nothing I'm making up. All right. My first pastoral experience was pastoring people that experience a lack of affluence financially. My congregation was not totally financially affluent. I had programs, and we worked to have programs that would be a source of help in the community. And what do I mean by that? You talked about financial literacy, holding classes for individuals to come and learn about financial literacy, learn about budgeting, learn about these institutions that are made to help you, learning about these places that can help you with down payment assistance, learning about organizations that are looking for opportunities to help first-time homeowners and home buyers, rather, and how we can tap into those resources, looking into real estate development, which was also a part of your plan. Specifically in the city of Memphis, I haven't delved into that here in the city of Houston, but there's a land bank that people have access to get real estate at a very cheap rate. Now it's going to be a fixer-upper. It's going to be opportunities for that. But I believe in a systematic approach to make sure that we educate our people on the things of finance. Because I totally agree with you, Marcus. We are a people that spend a lot of money.
A lot, yes.
Food, hair, nails. We make these industries. Okay, $1 trillion industries, even from the research that you were sharing, $1 trillion industries are made. I don't want to say on the backs, but from the pockets, not on the backs, but from the pockets of the Black community. And I think it is the part or the responsibility of the Black church to educate. I I will say personally, I do believe in the principle of tithing. However, I believe in also teaching what we do with the 90%. I believe in teaching,
Fair.
okay, let's not live above our means. You don't have to have a $400,000 home in Collierville to just say, I've arrived. Just speaking in context from where we're from, because we're both from Memphis,
Yeah.
okay? Because a lot of this is to show people that I've arrived and I've made all of this. What about being intentional, scaling back, as you said, on Netflix? Because Marcus said this, Johnny didn't, but scaling back on that Netflix subscription, buying a duplex, renting out one side, and you living intentionally on the other side, where the rent you get from the other side helps to fund this. And then we find opportunities to then reinvest the money that we have. So we are building wealth through real estate. Also finding opportunities to bring in those financial experts to teach on investing. What does it look like to invest in stocks? Do you have bonds? Do you have IRAs? What does your savings look like? This is a big one in my sphere right now because my parents are in retirement age.
Mhm.
And now I'm preaching the sermon ain't got nothing to do with the Bible, but yes, it does. I'm preaching this sermon now, Marcus, about their will.
Mm.
Hey, who are you talking to about how you are creating your will, your last will and testament? And that's not because I'm looking for your money. I'm looking
Right.
to make sure that you have made the proper financial plans, wherever that goes. If that goes to your grandchildren, I have no quarrel or beef with that. But make sure you have the money appropriated wherever it needs to go. So an estate doesn't take it over, or, as a culture, some of our biggest fights are around funerals
Funerals. Yes. Ask me how I know.
because you see what I'm saying? But there's not a financial plan. And I really believe this with all of my heart, Marcus, that the church should be a one-stop shop, that the church should be a place that where you could come and you learn about the principles of our faith, but you also learn about principles of finance, how to save, how to live how to live below your means, how to teach your children financial responsibility. My mom used to drill us, and I thought it was punishment. Marcus, this is what this woman would do. We go to Kroger, because Kroger is big in Memphis, where we're from, right?
Right.
We go in Kroger, and my mom would say, Johnny, Clarissa, look at the sales and tell me what's the best option. Well, what do you mean? If they have these cans over here for 25 cents and you can buy 10 for $1, what should we, 10 for, what's the better option? What was she
Mm.
doing? She was causing us to think through the process of purchasing and not just buying things
Yes.
frivolously. Well, if we don't teach that, I don't care how much you make, you take the same mindset, an impoverished mindset with just more money, which is why 75% of the people that win the lottery are broke within
Broke.
3 to 5
Mhm.
years because they took the same financial mentality with more money. And I think it is a job and should be an extension and a branch of the Black church specifically to educate and empower our people through education so we will see wealth happen through investments, through real estate, and through financial stewardship. Do you have to get your nails done every 2 weeks for $200? Really? You really? My guy, you gotta buy a $400 bottle of Creed cologne. Like, if you got it, you got it. And I'm not coming against you. If you got it, cool. But
Most
do
of us
you
don't
have
have
as
it.
much in your investment and savings as you have in your expenditures? Is there an intentional financial approach to what you are doing with the 100%. Because I heard you say, hey, first you need to give yourself 10% back to yourself. I totally agree. Because you know what that looks like to me? That looks like allocation of finances.
Ooh,
Intentional allocation of my finances to say 10% is going to me. So what does that look like for Johnny? That looks like savings. That looks like retirement. That looks like a fund for my son. Not just in the J's, but a fund for my son.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I look at the health benefits. How am I investing in my health? Because health is wealth. Because if you're a billionaire and you don't have the health, you can never expend it. And you don't make the best decisions when you're in bad health.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So I need to invest. And we're looking at these allocations. And I think the job of the church is to bring awareness to these things. We saw in the civil rights movement, the Black church specific, because that's what we're talking about. The Black church specifically was the hub of all things.
It was, yes.
The boycott didn't run through NAACP. It ran through the church.
It did.
Because we didn't have social media. So you know where they heard the message? That we're not going to go on the bus? Through the church. The greatest platforms for mass communication was there. So if we have these mass communications or mass communication platforms, the question is, and I challenge the Black church to ensure that we have an ambidextrous approach to what we are communicating across that platform. It is not just receiving, but how can we give? And if we're intentional in those things, I think we can adopt some of the principles from your plan, which is really to be a resource to the community. So we asked the question, how can we be a resource to the community? So I knew I was coming on here and I knew you was going to chop me up if I didn't have it. So I got a plan that we need to have some resources for financial literacy courses. We need to also have a budgeting class. Don't just give a pamphlet, but have a class that shows people how to budget. Because if your mama never taught you, or your daddy never taught you, or grandma never taught you how to budget, you get a new job and you get out of college and you have no idea how to budget your money. And you know what most of us learn from? The experience of failure.
Failure, yes.
Rather than the preceding generation helping us to learn through their failures. So we don't have to bump our head against a brick wall. We can learn from their failures and start off at an elevated platform than even they did. I think, as I aforementioned, we need investment courses. We also need internship programs.
Yes.
What do I mean by that? Utilizing opportunities that can be found in your local church through your social media. How can you leverage your knowledge through IT? Who doesn't need IT now, Marcus?
The facts, you're right.
So if we can leverage some of the opportunities that we use to broadcast our ministries into internship opportunities, what does that do? That creates a level of education, mental wealth that leads to financial wealth. It also helps to spawn a level of curiosity and exposure that we need in the next generation, to expose them to being more than a musician in the church. What about the social media content that YouTubers are making as a full-time salary? Marcus, they're not clocking in anywhere.
True.
But they have learned how to monetize some of the skills that we use in our local Black church. And I think we can do that through internship programs. I think the church also needs to be seen creating and operating through recidivism programs, helping people through reentry. Yes, this is a part of, not to segue into the book, but they are coming out of incarceration, but with no plan of reentry. I think the church should be that place to where they are able to learn financial literacy. They have access to real estate or opportunities that would give them an advantage to find employment, that we can show them how to save and invest in doing things of that sort. I believe that the Black church should also be a place that houses food pantries, places where we have clothes closets, And I believe that this is a biblical mandate according to Matthew 25. Jesus tells his boys, the disciples, hey, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me anything to drink. And they were like, what you talking about? Like, we roll with you every day. This is Johnny's interpretation, okay? It's Johnny's version of the Bible. Hey, we rolling with you every day. We watching you do all of this stuff. When have you ever been hungry, thirsty, naked, and we didn't see about it? He's like, no, you got a limited perspective. When you didn't look out for the people that were in need, it was like he was doing it to me. Mm. And I believe that the Black church specifically, we got to look out for our own, that are the least, the left out, and the lost, that are disenfranchised in some places, areas, and spaces. And we need to be in a place to where we are the one-stop shop that is intentional through transparency, to your point. So I don't have no quarrel with anything you're saying. I think the transparency leads to integrity. Okay. I think definitely it leads to integrity. I think there are some spaces and places where people need to know also the level of benevolence that does happen in the church. Because that's another deal. When you're outside looking in, sometimes there are two things you don't understand. Statistically, Barna Group says only 20% of congregants tithe anyway. So when you see a mega church, 80% of those people are not contributing to the wealth of that church. Okay. Also, Barnes, Barnes, Barnes says a third of the people at most give tithes regularly. Most people only give charitable contributions or offering. Okay. And if we see that 20% of these individuals are giving, then we need to come up with a formula of benevolence, because some people are in a place to where, man, if I told you from experience how many times, I won't even talk about me. Let's talk about my dad. It's not about me. My dad pastored for 20 years. I told you, in South Memphis.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times he paid someone's rent.
I can imagine.
And this is not for a pat on the back. When someone's lights were about to be cut off, and he helped to make sure they stayed on. Or when somebody's lights were cut off, and he helped to put groceries in their pantry and food in their refrigerator. Help people with their down payment for transportation. Gave loans to people that were never paid back. And for me, I'm really actually grateful that I started from that place, because my dad doesn't have the big name. My dad's not T.D. Jakes, although T.D. Jakes came from a very humble beginning from West Virginia that a lot of people don't know. Many people know him from Dallas, but doesn't know, the extreme things that he went through financially in West Virginia. But I think we need to be transparent. And I think when people actually knew the level of benevolence that people receive, I think there will be an increased level of awareness. But I agree with absolutely everything you said in that plan. And I think now, 2025 is the most opportune time for the Black church to really start looking at our financial plan and how we can become a resource to the Black community and to those that are really in need. I think minorities are in a really tough place. Oh, yeah. Really, really tough place. And if we are to see that need, according to scripture, well, I believe Matthew 25 was speaking about those that were in need. And if we are to be the hands and feet of Jesus, which I believe we're called to do, we can't do that if we're not helping the people that are the least, the lost, and the left out.
That's how you shut me up too. I hope so. Hey, hey.
Yeah, no. I agree with the plan, man. I think, you said something that was so interesting because I took notes while I was viewing the podcast, becoming economic hub. And I think that's so important. That's so important. There's a pastor there in Atlanta, Georgia, who is doing a wonderful thing. He is creating a living quarters. Over 150 homes will be given to seniors, which is a demographic that is sometimes left out.
Forgotten, yes.
But it's forgotten. He's also creating a level of a garden to be a source for people to come and sow seeds and then reap a harvest from those things. Those intentional opportunities to give classes, but also give people the dignity that they deserve. Because some people, they deal with shame. We just got through talking about that, right? They have a need, but they're so impacted by shame that they don't even take full advantage of what they have access to through the church. But I think there's a part on the church to play to make sure that they are part of it. You know, we're not just issuing out clothes. No, let me put the clothes on a rack like you would go to Macy's and go to the rack and get whatever you need. Whatever shoes you need for your children. You talked about a back to school initiative. I think that with intentionality, churches should partner with local schools, local school districts. Here in Texas, they have independent school districts, which is much larger than the Memphis City, Shelby County School, whatever they call it now. I grew up in Memphis City School. I don't know about you.
Yes.
But, you know, to be very intentional with partnering with local schools in the community, whatever the local school is in your community, and attaching yourself. What if every family could attach themselves to one classroom and say, Miss Johnson's classroom, we're going to take care of all of the needs for this classroom. Miss Sharp classroom, we're going to take care of the needs over there. Mr. Jones, we're going to take care of the needs over there. And every family within the church says we want to adopt not just a school, but adopt a classroom. Because adopt a school can come off as an annual thing that we just come by on Thanksgiving, we give a turkey and we think the need is gone. No. I think we need to be systematically and intentionally in the fiber of the community. Because if we're going to preach to the community, I think we got to invest in the community. And I think the investment is more than the gospel. The gospel seen in the community is giving to those that are lost, least, and left out.
And that's a Common Knowledge podcast, updated weekly with our guest, Johnny Moore the Third. And sir, could you please tell these folks where to find you?
Absolutely, man. I want to thank you, Marcus, for the opportunity of just coming on. I'm on every social media platform other than X. I'm on Facebook, John. That part. I'm on Facebook, Johnny Moore the Third. You can follow my dad, but don't send him no inbox because he be getting messages. He like, huh? Somebody want me to come speak? I'm like, nah, they was trying to get me that. you shouldn't be going to the youth service no more, Dad. So I'm Johnny Moore the Third on Facebook. I'm jmoore1911 on Instagram. Also my website, johnnylmoore.com. You can find the book there as well. It's there on Amazon as well. Anchored, Finding Strength in Your Struggles. I think we need to be anchored because we will all find a place or experience a place where we can start to drift. And the only thing that keeps us grounded is our anchor and our belief in who we are, our purpose in this earth, and how we can be a resource to those that need it the most.